What is a survival myth that is completely wrong and could get you killed? Sucking a snake bite, it will often make it worse. Punch a shark in the nose. Drinking alcohol to stay warm. You sweat, your blood will rush to your skin and you will freeze, die much faster. Edit. People seem curious about this. Here's a good link. Edit 2, as suggested by another Redditor. Removing a bullet is more dangerous than leaving it in. Trying to remove it can tear vital organs. It can be pushed in even deeper. Or removing it can cause the person to bleed out. It won't kill you, but don't pee on a jellyfish sting. It will actually release more of the toxin. That you can eat what animals eat. Not true. Animals have different digestion systems that aren't the same as a human's. TL. Doctor, if done right, a tourniquet should hurt like a motherfucker and you're going to want to loosen it. But in the words of Egan Spangler, it would be bad. Gradually loosening an applied tourniquet over time is a thing I still see in first aid training videos for some reason. A policy of periodic loosening of a tourniquet in an attempt to reduce limb ischemia has often led to incremental exsanguination and death. 12. Don't do that. Once a tourniquet is on, remember and mark the person if you can, what time it was applied, and leave the rest to doctors in a stable environment. Loosening a tourniquet may result in blood loss returning, which requires retightening it. Tightening, loosening repeatedly may cause, on top of additional blood loss, blood to pool up inside the limb, which can cause even more damage. Edit. It's going to take over 2 hours for muscle, nerve damage to start occurring and about 6 until everything is dead and needing an amputation. Many folks have said that recent advances have prolonged that time. I can't find a source to validate that, but it seems believable. Would like one if anybody has one. As TQ use has heavily increased in the military and civilian world the past 15 years thanks to the cats, so I'm guessing surgeons have worked with them more. This much more recent study cites that most amputations are due to the injuries sustained, not tourniquet use. A multi-center study demonstrated 88% effectiveness in pre-hospital tourniquet application with significantly lower mortality and amputation rates than in American military experience. Cragg et al.'s military cohort had a 35% amputation rate, with several civilian series having a frequency of 17% to 29%. We theorized that injury severity was critical in the decision to amputate in the presence of a tourniquet. A significant number of the initial amputations had mangled, nearly amputated arms or legs from high-speed motorcycle or all-terrain vehicle crash. Despite the higher rate of initial amputation, there was no increase in morbidity, mortality, or length of stay in TQ plus patients. Old source. Edit. Greater than continuous application for longer than 2H can result in permanent nerve injury, muscle injury, including contractures, rhabdomyolysis and compartment syndrome, vascular injury and skin necrosis. 8. Muscle damage is nearly complete by 6 hours, with likely required amputation. Numerous studies have been performed to determine the maximum duration of tourniquet use before complications. The general conclusion is that a tourniquet can be left in place for 2H with little risk of permanent ischemic injury. Cotton wicks moisture. Cotton is probably the worst material to wear in an outdoor survival situation because it holds moisture and in doing so loses its ability to keep you warm. Don't eat snow to stay hydrated if you're in a winter survival situation. Losing the heat to the snow while eating it is more dangerous than dehydration. Heat it up or let it melt in a container first to lose less heat. A lot of Southeast Asians believe going from heat to aircon, jumping in a swimming pool on a hot day, or even fans will kill you. So many deaths happen every year because people are afraid of being shocked to death from going from hot to cold too quickly. You can hydrate from soda. If that's all you have, drink it. If you get stabbed with anything, don't pull it out since it could be the thing that preventing you from bleeding out. Instead, immobilize it and go to the hospital where they can stop the bleeding when they remove the object. Follow flying birds to find water. They can simply be flying to spend a night anywhere, so we can't rely on them. The first mistake is to look for food and water first before having a shelter up to keep yourself dry and warm. Edit. When I say shelter first, it includes having a fire too, which I forgot to mention. When you are wet and exposed to the elements, your core body temperature can drop and you can get hypothermia if it gets too cold, and you would burn more calories than necessary. A big reason to building a shelter too is to also keep yourself off the ground, because the ground is an infinite heat sink, which means you lose your body heat way faster than you would think and will be more exposed to the cold elements. Guys, yes, it's good to be near a water source, but remember that it's always colder around rivers, streams, lakes, and oceans. Make sure you are able to easily gather shelter, fire material within the area, plus finding a prime location to set up shelter. I feel like a book RN. Sticking your finger up a dog's bum. I've read this a few times. Staying away from aggressive dogs is your best bet. Not a good idea. Best way to deal with a dog attack is to try to move away slowly, sideways with your arms at your sides so that you're not threatening. Don't look at the eyes and don't smile. Both are seen as a challenge. Don't run away. The dog will instinctively chase you. Get up high if you can. Dogs can't climb very well. If shit hits the fan, do the opposite of looking unthreatening. Stand tall with your arms in the air and growl or roar. If there's something nearby, throw it at the dog to make it think twice. Wrap clothing around your arm to hand to the dog should it go in for a bite. You're pretty much guaranteed to be bit, so make it in a place that is less important and less likely to bleed out. Don't lose your footing or fall to the ground. You'll be toast. Don't pull away from the dog if it has bitten you. This will cause more damage. Once the dog has bitten you, it probably won't let go. Aim to kill or maim the dog. Fingers in the eyes are good. Jumping on the dog with all your body weight is better. If you break their ribs, they will probably give up. Herbivorous animals are friendly and peaceful, so you are safe being around them, and their presence will show you where food is. Seriously, everything from cows to deer can and will kill you if you make it angry. It is usually a good idea if you are in the wilds not to get near any large wild animal, but herbivores can often be even more aggressive than the predators. Rescue breaths are wildly overrated in most movies and TV shows. You'll see someone in cardiac arrest, and the rescuer will stop giving compressions and focus on breathing into a person's mouth in blammo. Awake, alert, alive. Nope, don't do that. Your body does store a fairly decent amount of oxygen in its blood at all times. If someone in front of you ODs and their mouth is covered with saliva, vomit, or someone collapses in front of you have a suspected cardiac arrest, your plan of action is twofold. Are they breathing? Do they have a pulse? This is easy to fuck up, especially in a moment of panic. My rule as an EMS provider is that if you don't feel it in 10 seconds, it's not there. Start compressions. If they are not in cardiac arrest, they will let your ass know, and the law covers you under Good Samaritan clauses in most of these cases. If you are the only person attending to this body, do not stop and give rescue breaths if help is on the way and will be there soon. It takes about 4 to 7 decent compressions to get blood recirculating in the body after stopping to give mouth to mouth. That's a lot of blood, carrying a lot of vital oxygen reserves that aren't making it to the brain. Obviously, if you're a long way out from help, and you feel safe to do so, give rescue breaths. But it should never be priority number one. By the way, if you hear ribs crack, make a face. Make vomit noises if you have to. Tell the person their bones are fucking grossing you out. But don't stop compressions. Because what are compressions? That's right. They are number fucking one. If you have to forage for food, avoid mushrooms entirely. Odds are so slim you will find an edible kind that you're much better off looking for things like nuts, seeds, and berries. Edit. This is not the myth, this is the truth. If you ever find yourself in snake country, make as much noise as possible. Most people want to avoid snakes, so stay quiet, but they are more scared of you than you are of them. Talk loudly, stomp, but obviously keep an eye and ear out for any fellas who don't want you to be there. Source: Australian. The YouTube videos on how to unarm an attacker from close range. You'll die before you can yell yeehaw. You do not need to wait 24 hours to report a missing person. If you think someone is missing, report it as such. The faster a missing person report is filed, the greater the chance the person will be found. What is a survival myth that is completely wrong and could get you killed?